What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. We are at the University of Montevallo, back with the series that I enjoy on the channel, and I think some of y'all enjoy as well, to see if we can truly keep it 1,000. But before we dive in, we have to ask, how you doing today, Josh? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
All right, so for those of you who are unfamiliar and you are coming into the series for the first time, Keep It 1000 is where I am playing all of my local courses in the area, trying to shoot 1,000 rated golf as best I can. I'm working my way up from the beginner-friendly courses all the way up to the more difficult ones, trying to see what I can do. And really, I am trying to overcome what you could say is the major complication that is our rating system. I was having this conversation with a guy who plays golf at dinner 2 days ago, and he was asking, I was talking about shooting X amount under par, and he was like, oh, what's the handicap or what's the rating system? And really, if you find people that are familiar with golf, it's kind of difficult to explain just how different shooting under par can be at a course. This course in particular has a special place in my heart because it was actually the home of the first ever 1,000 rated round that I shot, which was during a PDGA sanctioned league here at this track. I was able to shoot, I think it was like 10 down or something like that, but since then they have changed the layout. There are several new pin positions. Part of why we've also delayed coming to this is because I understand the rating system to a degree, so I had a roundabout guess of what 1,000 rated would be. So I knew there was a tournament here and they played this layout. So thankfully I had an idea on what 1,000 rated would be. So here's where we landed at for our target goal today. Our target goal is 11 under par. This is a par 56 because holes 17 and 18 are par 4s that, if I'm being 100% honest, if you throw an incredible shot, both are eagleable. So that should keep it pretty exciting coming down the stretch because, I mean, realistically, we could be only 7 down through 16 holes and still end up with a chance to actually make the goal of hitting 11 under, but that will require, like I said, 2 incredible shots. But it also could be a world if we're playing really well, we don't have to go for the eagles, just depends. Another quick update is that we've moved a couple things around in our bag. I'm trying out some different molds. So I would say the 3 major updates are that the polecat is not in the bag, the tunnel shot by Compound Discs is in the bag. Second update is that instead of 2 origins in the bag, I currently have a origin and a dune, because with the elbow rehab, we kind of reworked my swing, or tried to rework my swing a little bit, which is good, but when I'm hitting it, oh my goodness, the power and the straightness of shots is incredible. And so all of even my overstable origins were still having some turn to them. I need a disc that's gonna stand up and ride straight, but not turn all the way over. I have a Trash Panda Dune in the bag again, for that. And then last but not least, we had 4 passions that ended up being the round out of the bag. So we took that back down to 2 passions, and we actually have eagles back in the bag. Felt like with taking the polecat out, it was okay for me to show a little end of a love with one of my favorite fairways, the eagles. So should be a good time. All right, so without further ado, here we are, hole 1, 263 feet. If my warm-up shots were any inclination on how today's gonna go, I think that there's a very real chance with how windy it is. I mean, I didn't throw 1 backhand drive that didn't turn over because of the wind. On this 263-foot shot, we're going felon because we're throwing into an actual wind tunnel. Be confident, Robbie. Throw good shots, play good golf. You're the man. And then settle. Perfect. Hopefully nice and easy, nice and smooth. I knew when I checked the layout and it said par 56 that the last 2 holes are the par 4s. There's not any other par 4s on the course. And with my current injury, throwing forehands doesn't really fatigue it as much. And so backhands, we've worked on a new sort of swing plane in order to create that. So we can throw quite a few forehands on this course, which does bode well for us. These are old DGA baskets. I think they're Mach 3s. Thin, light chains. Putts are gonna cut through. So that's gonna be in my head, and I'm not even someone who putts that hard. Gotta be cognizant here, and thankfully, if we have the right pin positions and we can throw more forehands, should allow us to play pre-injury free today. Now the middle section of this course is by far, I think, the hardest scoring segment. When we get from about probably hole 6 through 12. Yeah, 6 to 12, those 7 holes are, I think, the hardest scoring section on the entire course. So ideally, we'd love to have several birdies in our hand heading into the middle section, so that if we're able to grab 1 or 2 of those, it really takes the pressure off. And like I said, we can walk into the last 2 holes looking for the eagles, but if we don't have to do that, that would be kind of just the dream. There's this curvy branch like here, and then there's straight branches like here to make a gap right up the middle. The basket from that gap is probably 120, 130 feet straight back towards the wood line. I'm actually gonna go big forehand out and around and try to crash it in. 238 feet, going felon once again. That should be perfect. Left myself a little more meat on the bone than I thought, but that's fine. Alrighty, hole 3, our first backhand of the course. You got 183 to the short pin, 227 to the long pin. This is one of those, it's a backhand turnover. You could look at it and think that it's a forehand, but if you go the forehand, you have to flirt with the left side of the fairway, which doesn't usually let it a lot of disc through. But if you can throw something on backhand turnover that isn't gonna burn over, but it's just gonna keep pushing the whole time, it can be really good. The key here is use your tee box geometry and try to make sure that you're getting on this front right corner, because if you're on the front left corner, you bring the left side more into play. We're going tunnel shot. Let's see what we can do. And it did it. It got all the way down there. One thing I like about the tunnel shot is you could see it kind of held straight, but it has that like late switch turn to it that you know it's gonna like hold, and then it's just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to ride. And it turns over. Oh, we'll go ahead and say that this hole has some nostalgia for it. You guys know that we end every video with, but for now I'll leave you with the birdie, and I have to mention it every time I come here because I never assume that those of you watching watch every single video that has come out on the channel. So I repeat myself sometimes for those of you that are really faithful watchers, so I apologize if it feels ranty. There was a League of Legends YouTuber that I used to watch who used to end all of his videos with, for now, I'll leave you with the robots. And then his outro sequence, this was these like dancing robots that said like, yeah, we are the robots, baby. And I knew from the beginning that I wanted to create some form of like a outro that people were familiar with, but for now we'll leave you with the birdie. I thought, okay, well, I'll leave them with birdie putts. And I didn't think for a bit that I'd have like an audience that would submit those throws. I didn't think we'd ever get to like Simon level like shot of the day, anything like that, you know? I was like, I'll start with birdie putts. And so I filmed a video here that was every shot explained. It was the first iteration of it. And when I ended with that birdie putt in the short location on this hole, I was like, oh, for now I'll leave you with the birdie, and that will be the outro. And then if I have cool birdie putts that I make throughout the channel, I'll just use those. Whenever I think, but for now I'll leave you with the birdie, I always come back to this hole in the short. And that may have literally been the first time that I birdied the long, actually putting inside the circle. All right, next up we have hole 4, 178 feet. It is a tunnel shot that breaks left at the very end. And I actually go Precious Child here because even though this is not fly like a man's ordinary pig, at the end of the day, it's still a pig. It may flip up and it ride. There's not pigs that usually hyzer flip, but this is still gonna have some fade. So, especially if I don't yam on it. So here I wanna throw it straight enough to get it to ride, but then I want it to be a pig at the very end of its flight. Okay, that's not bad. It kicked left. It's not gonna be a close look, but it's certainly makeable. 100% transparency is that that last putt felt pretty good, but the first 2 putts did not feel great. We're just inside the circle. What I like about this is that these are great momentum getters for, you could look at a really short hole like this, and if you're playing golf and you're playing around, you have a really short hole and you mess it up, you're always like, ah, can't believe I messed up that hole. But I'm gonna spin this on its head and say that my putt hasn't felt phenomenal so far. So this is a really great opportunity to hit a big putt and really own that momentum, really own that feeling, and get that good putt back. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. All right, here we are, 267 feet. The other option for this is one that I said, like, It's 445 feet. It plays uphill all the way out into a flat plateau, and it's a par 3. If you're a Shelby County disc golfer and you birdie that, like, bagger, move up. We're gonna try to go forehand, and there's a little bit of a hill that the basket sits on, so we can just crash it into the hill and be fine. So we definitely turned it over. Yeah, so we got ourselves a long look here. Not great footing, so it's kind of like all the power is gonna come from the hands. Three, 4, 6, 7, 8, 13. 13 paces uphill. We're putting like that, guys. Drives don't have to be that good. To quote my friend Jason, whatever, dude. That's so silly. 250 feet, basket sits out there. This is one, we're finally throwing the pig forehand. Gonna try to hang it out wide. The key is to push it wide, because if you push it wide, you've got a pretty safe run back at the basket. If you go in early, the problem is that it's really grown up and it's really hairy on the right side of the green. So you could end up 20 feet away from the basket with literally not the airspace to move your arm. So hang it wide, let her crash back in. And there's that headwind that we talked about. You can now see I threw it. I did not feel any wind coming at me. And then as soon as that disc came out of my hand, you could see the wind just got a hold of it. So we'll have our first par probably. I say probably. I mean, we may try a tunnel shot throw it. We're gonna give this a nice gentle like nose up bid. This is really testing the strength of the rehab we're doing on the forearm, because this is the tendon mounts. Yeah. Especially on Mach 3s, there's no gimmicks. Cut straight through the chain, just nails that pole, and you just gotta keep your fingers crossed that hopefully it stays in the basket. Probably my least birdied hole on the course. 322 feet, it's just wide open. It's just wide out there. This is one of those weird holes that I feel like when I throw I feel like I could throw a mid-range and get it there. I feel like I could throw a fairway and get it there. I feel like I definitely can throw a distance driver and get it there. It doesn't matter what I pick. I almost always end up in the same spot anyways. So we're gonna go with the eagle. Well, I'll tell you, an eagle turning over the entire flight was not in my bingo card. I mean, this wind is so swirly out here because the wind that was just blowing this way is now blowing that way. Not great. Straighter. We gave that much more of a straight flight, which is nice. I'm trying to aim on these baskets. I'm trying to aim for like the sweet spot right here, because they all sit a little low. We'll take our par. We said this was the par section of the course, so if we grab a birdie or two, we're gonna feel great. All right, 280 feet. It sits on the hill. Really, you wanna put something on hyzer, out wide, let it crash in. You don't want it to like super hard crash, so the slowest disc you can possibly throw into this hole is key, because you don't want you want it to come in soft. If you come in with a big distance driver or something like that, has the potential to hit that hill and roll, and it's a hill, y'all. That's a nice 20-footer, but our miss fades into the hill, so we got a safe run, as opposed to if we were on the right side of the basket, we have the like, if you miss, rolling down the hill potential. So green light. Do 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 do. That's tough. I mean, was it right side? Sure. That's tough. You gotta shake those off, because it's like, you let them rattle you. That stinks. Have ourselves a little gathering in the mind here. Tucked off, because one of the beautiful parts about this course is that it is on a college campus. That means if you live on campus, like, you literally have a course within walking distance, which is awesome. Hole 9, 225 feet. It's just right out there. There is a road behind it. Gravel is actually inbounds, 225 feet. Hopefully no crazy wind. Hopefully a pig can just be a pig. Gravel's in bounds, left ourselves at 20-25er. That one was me being a sissy. That was me frustrated about that putt and being like, well, Dennis, you can't give it a chance because if you hit a good putt, it's just not gonna go in. We got 9 holes to get 6 birdies. Let's do it, y'all. Let's do it. No more sad stories, no more being frustrated about bad basket. We're in it. We're in. Here we go. Basket sits off to the right, 266 feet. We're gonna go felon just because I talked about getting that pig warmed up, getting it loose. But so far, the felon has gotten me birdies most of the time, and the pig, I'm just not hitting him today. And then see, now it just doesn't stand up. That's why that felon has got to come out. If I hit the line that I wanted, it holds too straight and probably brings the tennis courts into play, which are OB. So that would be unfortunate. When a disc becomes unreliable, y'all, it's gotta leave. Now the tricky part here is elevated basket with the drop off behind. We are not trying to run this. We're trying to do exactly that. These next 3 holes, this one, the next one and the one after it, are all risk management. I would say 12 is probably the least risk management in terms of it is probably the hardest shot to execute just because of the distance and the shape that's required. But the next hole is one that baits you into doing something silly. And I have made a solemn vow to myself that I do not play it for birdie. This is 289 feet because it looks like it's tucking the long. Yeah, I think I can see the sleeve on the short. So what it's asking you to do, honestly, if you're trying to park the long, I don't really know what you're asking for the line to be because you can't go in left of the big tree up there. Kind of got to throw like a low stinger that hits that hill and skips up. But a fast disc brings in a ton of different trouble. If you were trying to park the short basket, low stinger once again is an option, or you can hit them with the flex forehand. I'm gonna try to just throw forehand straight down there with a pig and pitch up, take our par, walk away. Perfect. If I was playing to the short pin, I think I have like a 25 or 30 foot putt, and that's kind of how I view this hole. Okay, so for my straight pig shot, this may be one of the best drives that I've ever had on this hole because as you can see, this is the short pin right here, this little sleeve. We have ourselves a circle 2 look up at the basket. We're gonna go with the tunnel shot because I think it has more glide than my Wizards do. My polecat definitely did. This is something that I'm testing on with replacing this mold. This would be a polecat putt all day. Okay, it definitely had more glide. And we left our mini somewhere, so we're gonna have to backtrack to go get that. This hole is 245 feet. That's actually so silly that it says it's only 245 because this takes every bit of a felon rip for me to get it up there. Very uphill. So we're gonna try to go up the left route, skip over to the right. Once again, it's gotta kind of push and then get right. And now be a felon. There it is. It got a kick to the right, so ideally it's gonna be up there. Hopefully it didn't like kick to the right and have like a little like dance party up there. Fun fact, everybody, whenever you walk up and your disc is upside down, usually that lets you know that it got squirrely. Once again, you gotta put low on these things. I'm willing to admit mental weakness and letting you know that this basket, these Mach 3s living rent-free in my head right now. This hole, you can see, you may be able to see the sleeve. That sleeve is 204 feet. It's kind of like that white pole in the dead grass right there. And then it's another 50 feet downhill to the left. That's where the basket is. We're gonna go Glow Wizard. As you guys are seeing in the video thus far, we're hitting things with a little more power, but also the wind is just a little unpredictable. I'm finding that the more power I'm hitting my birdie blends are, they're just holding really straight, which is fine. It's a great thrower still. We're throwing into a literal headwind, So we kind of want to throw it nose up into this headwind, which is going to chop the distance, but should also give us the fade. And that's so inside. It may have gotten sneaky. If it did, I mean, it was so lucky. The line that I didn't know existed is there's these holes all through here. So we rounded that corner and we were able to sneak on down there. Here's where you're gonna see the mark of an honest player versus the mark of a player who wants every reason to describe their failures somewhere else. Was it a great putt? I would argue that it was borderline good to great. Now, once again, I have this memory of it, so that memory could be incorrect. I'll have to go back and I'll watch the video just like you guys. And it may have been high right the whole time, and I've just been whining for the last several holes. I don't think it was outside of the chains. I think it was still right side, maybe a tad high. Could it have been better? Sure. Could it have been a little more inside? Sure. Those are all factors. But like 9 times out of 10, I feel like if you hit a putt in that position, it's probably gonna stay in. 2 birds. That puts us at 7. Let's keep cooking. Need 4 more. Contextually, this is a hole that a catch cam or multi-camera setup would be great because the basket is tucked down there in the woods. And then you clear this hill and the tee box is over here. But I wanted to give you the context of seeing that hole so that you know lots of times you can go for like the forehand and go for a big skip, or you can go the backhand, try to come in the back door. 219 feet. We're gonna get a lot of free distance out of the downhill. So I'm gonna try to basically just go pig outright. I think it would be safer to go for more of a like a fairway driver or something fast. If I don't give that enough and a fast disc comes in, it's really hard packed ground in the bottom, so there's a really big chance of like flaring big, and I don't really want it to flare because if I get this distance right, it's almost lawn dart-esque. Ideally, I'm gonna be on the backside, putting back into the gap, but we could also get lucky and chance it through the trees and just see what we get. And see there, I'm gonna need some form of penetration or tree kick or something like that. Because if I would have taken that same line and thrown it that half-hearted with a fairway driver, I'm so far left. I'm probably left of the left position there, which is 40 feet left. I feel like the other thing to remember about fairway drivers in context is that fairway drivers also probably cut through trees a little better. That's part of why if you've like got to throw a hard shot through the woods where you're like, I just can't accept that these trees exist, you grab the driver or something so that it can cut through. The blunt edge of the putter ends up, see, those are the putts that made me nervous, dude, because it hits so much pole, just like if it hits that pole medium height, I mean, look, like the odds of that getting back out, pretty low. But yeah, the blunt edge of the putter really shining there. I mean, I had to have come in here and I was pushing towards that pin and then it just kind of like hit everything. I'm gonna go ahead and admit it. You know, I'll show my bias because I really do. I believe in this club. I think that they hype it up. If there's a hole that feels gimmicky on this course, it's this guy. So in both positions, you have 2 positions. One is 145 feet, one is 168 feet. We're going downhill. My play to the one that's the left is I literally step putt off the tee and just carry it straight downhill. They've changed it a little bit, and now same basically distance, but it's off to the right. So you gotta actually throw a shot here. It can't just go straight. It does actually have to push right a little bit, but it can't push right immediately. So here's where we're gonna use rules to our advantage because it's a foot fault. If I throw from here and I wanna throw a forehand, this tree on the right shouldn't be in my head, but by golly is it. So in order to adjust that, this is as far left as I can get, bringing that into play. But if I stand here, I can throw the shot. The problem is that it's a foot fault if I have any supporting point off of the tee or not on the tee box when I go to throw. So the solution here, I can literally come up, throw my shot, and then come back down, and it would be no different than me throwing a backhand like this and finishing off the front of the box. That is pretty awful. That's pretty awful. Unless that punched through, which I don't think it did, because that is probably the thickest collection of green. We probably don't have a putt. which means that we're gonna have decisions to make here. I've got like a little window right here that I could probably putt through. I'm gonna try to lean out a little bit, and I have the window that I'm gonna putt through, and I might just go tomahawk, and hopefully it hits and flare, like skips forward. That was my worry. High pole. High pole. We could just birdie literally every single hole. If we birdied every hole, we're in the clear. Thought for a second I wasn't gonna try to say it, but I thought we could also just ace this hole. That would also work. Pretty rare to be able to ace run this with a chance. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't a great ace run. I'm pretty sure like height-wise it came in like here. So not too committed of an ace run, but because of the fact that we gotta play somewhat perfect on this one, we needed it. This is one of the eagle opportunities. It's 313 feet, which you may think 313 feet, well, that's a super short par 4. The reason being is that basically the eagle line, a high anhyzer that fights out, there's a big opening that you can't really see left over there, and then it's got to clear a pond and get over to a basket. So you kind of just have to grab like the most overstable disc in your bag and just yeet that thing on Annie, and then hope that it fights out. It did things. Time to go check. Here's what I'll go ahead and say, is that I know that doesn't film very well, so I'm gonna try to walk you through where we threw. This is the airspace that we ended up going through. You can skip like something out here. Ideally, you're landing like somewhere over here for the birdie, and then the basket sits tucked behind all this foliage. You can start to see it. Left ourselves a little putt. Let's see what we can do. Come on! Come on! 435? 435 out there. Should be a headwind coming at us. I can't feel anything here, but it should be a headwind coming at us. I'm gonna go passion here. I'm not gonna go that eagle. Hopefully should stand up a little bit, ride straight, and then drop. There it is. Should be a simple pitch up to the rock, make a putt, and we walk away from Montevallo. We have about 150 left into the green, so we threw a 300-foot shot, easy peasy. The question mark here is, we've been throwing the tunnel shot really well. Do we just go tunnel shot right up the gut? Do we go pig out and around, or do we go pig forehand? I think I'm gonna go pig forehand up the, nah. You know what? It's Robbie C. When the game's on the line, we throw precious child. Just on the other side of the rock, should be a tap-in putt. Here is to not having to putt on Mach 3s. That is gross. Gross. Where that round comes rated at, with the wind we experienced, I mean, literally, the wind was so squirrely in that middle section of the course. Like, I definitely think this is 1,000, but I think it's closer to like 1015, 1020, just because of the wind. If we would have had a full field out here, feeling the shots. UDisc rating comes out to 240, because UDisc doesn't account for weather. That's another level check. So I'll have to think about what course we want to do next. If you guys know the area, Inverness is gonna be near the end of the list. We'll hit a wooded track next. I don't know if it'll be Carter or like Greg Carter Memorial, which is short woods, or if it will be maybe Inverness Reds, because I think Greg Carter, while a great course, it's gonna be really hard to figure out a rating on that course. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. Let me know in the comments if you want me to try to figure out Carter, or if I just head straight to Inverness Reds before then going to Carter and some of the other tracks in town. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing rest of your week. Please make it fantastic for someone else too, like I already said. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.